So we'll just be letting the next group of people come in. Um, there we go. So we'll just be starting in the next couple of minutes before I just introduce our speakers today, and we'll be able to take all your questions today as well. So just make sure that you've got your chat box function open because you'll be able to ask any questions to us. So we'll just be starting in the next couple of minutes. Brilliant. So, hello everyone. My name's Shivam. Some of you may have seen me last week in the talk. So, I'll be presenting today's webinar today on mental health, who's kindly being hosted today by Sejal. So, I'm just going to give, just before we start, just a few housekeeping bits. Just make sure you keep yourself on mute. This session will be recorded, but it will actually just be the presentation part that's recorded. If you'd like to kind of ask any particular questions later, just feel free to drop any questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring it throughout the whole of tonight. And any burning questions, then please just either drop me a direct message or just put it for everyone to see. I'm just going to introduce Sejal. So it's an absolute pleasure to have her today. So Sejal's a integrative counselor and couples therapist with over 20 years of experience. She's known for her compassionate, trauma-informed approach, blending CBT, person-centered therapy, and including things like challenges like anxiety, depression, grief, and I think also relationship issues as well, Sejal. So thank you so much for being here today and to share your knowledge. And also thank you for Shailesh as well, who'll be co-hosting with Sejal. So over to you, Sejal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Shivam. And thank you, everybody, for inviting me. I'm just going to share one of our presentation. And as most of you know, Salish Bhai, he's the one who's helped me with the presentation and brought me here. So, great. I hope everybody is able to see the presentation. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see you guys. And if you have any questions, please, I think so Shivam and Salish Bhai are going to monitor. Please type it in the chat, or we also have some time at the end as well if you have any questions. So basically, today's presentation is on mental health. The first question which comes to my mind is, what is mental health? Mental health is basically how we think, how we see, how we feel, and we cope in everyday life. It shapes our emotions, decision, and everything what we do. Just like a body gets tired, our mind also gets tired or overwhelmed. It could be because of stress, it could be because of any changes in our life circumstances, even having a birth or giving birth to a baby or having a child, moving homes is also considered as stressed or change, which might affect our mental well-being. Good mental well-being helps us to work, parent, connect, and make wise choices. So it's very vital. Just like physically, you're able to move around, and if you're healthy and keep fit, you're able to move around and do things. Similarly, if your mental well-being or mental health is in good shape, you're able to function as a human being to the top level. So the next one is basically talking about the cultural realities for all Asian communities. As we can see, we have as an Asian community, face challenges, i.e., adapting to the British life, including myself. I've come to this country 21 years ago, and obviously, fitting into the culture, the expectation, changing things around to be accommodated in this culture. So we have these challenges which we've been facing for years. At the same time, there's a pressure in terms of not being appearing very strong, being successful, family focused. Again, with family and most Asian families, from my experience, we've seen that if you are vulnerable, it's a sign of weakness. And thus, we have to put this facade or put this image of ourselves to be very strong, all focused, all in balance. And again, there's also a lot of stigma around therapy, emotional well-being, expressing you're not feeling well, anything. It's like, the label, which in Gujarati term we say gando che, or, pagal che, or he's mad. And again, this struggle between, I have to be very strong and to be not, showing that I'm facing some problem or facing some issues. It doesn't mean that, one will always have mental health issues. It could be that there are some factors which you'll see which affect your mental well-being in the moment. Probably 3 months, 3 weeks, it could be a number of months as well. But just because we are not want to be labeled, people would avoid, expressing that. So I'm going to first start off again, in a way where with a real life scenario. So imagine a 42-year-old Asian woman living in London. She manages work. She has 2 children, elderly in-laws at home. She's doing very well. Recently, there's some changes which she's noticed. She notices that, she's overwhelmed emotionally. She's irritated very quickly, constantly worry about things. She feels that things are not going the way they used to. And I'm sure we all have this experience. She's not able to manage or balance things at work, home. She's slower. She has noticed some physical changes in her body since she's turned 40. She feels that she is unable to speak to anybody, as everybody looks up to her, thinking that, oh, wow, so and so is so good. Let's say X is doing so well. She's always been prim and proper. She's been able to look after everything. So she's not able to express things like, oh my God, I'm having a problem. She gets supports from her husband, but he's also under stress, as we mentioned. But UK life is not very easy. It's both of us are working, partners are working, both husband and wife are working, husband and partners are working, and they just have to make a living of it as well. So she doesn't want to worry him as well. So what do you think is happening out here? And just to disclaimer, this is just taking a scenario. There's nothing, no judgment with males and females. It's just something which I've put across. So this is something a male can also experience. It's not just female. It's just for example purpose I've used a female. So as a therapist or as a psychologist as well, what we would do is we break down into understanding what is happening, what's going wrong out here. So what we call is presenting issue. We said that she's emotionally overwhelmed, she's irritable, she has sleep disturbance due to overthinking, she's feeling unsupported and alone despite having family around. So this is how we break down to understand what's happening. Cultural expectations are also there, and it's not just with Asian culture, it's also with other cultures as well. So I've seen in this, so we have to consider what's happening. And as I mentioned earlier as well, that we have this cultural expectation of being strong or coping very well. We are hardworking. That's the label which we have, and we live up to that. So after having an understanding of what is happening with this person, we go to the treatment plan. We think, what can we do? How we can help? So we would encourage first to go and speak to the GP because there are some bodily changes. Weekly therapy session, if she wants the space where she can go and speak to somebody, that's what we offer as well. We also would work on, making sure that anxiety is also taken care, because the feeling of overwhelm is what has been how she can journalize, or she writes down her emotion. Now, I also say, because phone technology is improved, it's better, we can also speak to it. AI is there to help us as well. We learn techniques to ground our emotional well-being, regulation, space to express a feeling without being judgmental, like, friends, family, somebody who she can actually go every day, or if she feels suddenly overwhelmed, or she can express. Increase emotional awareness and communication at home. So it's not just about changing her, but also making sure her environment is able to understand her, i.e., the family members or any other friends, and everybody would understand, people from the community. Rather than labeling her, they would understand, oh, she's having a difficult time. Increase emotional awareness and communication at home, and ability to set boundaries without feeling guilty. So I will only do this much because I can't take any more. For example, at work, she can say that I can only work up to these deadlines because I feel very overwhelmed. So setting those boundaries at home as well, setting those boundaries, because she's aged as well. She's 40, so one needs to know that. So basically, just going back into something which is a bit technical in terms of what is stress and how it affects our mind and body. So stress releases something called, um, uh, I would say, a chemical, which is called cortisol, and which basically disrupts the sleep patterns, and it weakens our immunity system as well. Um, to some extent, it is okay to be stressed, i.e., if I am stressed about this presentation, it's good because it gets me into a place where I am alert and everything. But if that continues for a long time, if it is day in and day out, it becomes a problem. It leads to fatigue. It leads to illness. It also leads to burnout. And again, give you the simple example at work as well. This is what people would experience, and that's the reason by end of the day they want to shut down. And if that happens every day, I would look into it. It also activates our overthinking brain, which is the worry network. It, you would, hear many people say that I was awake all night thinking about something. Then I was thinking about my family, thinking about my son. I was thinking about my work. I couldn't sleep all night. And when I fell off to sleep, it was 4 o'clock in the morning and I had to wake up at 6. So that is the overthinking drive, which was activated as well when stress is on a very constant basis. And suppressing emotions increases internal stress and pain and physical strain. So bottle up feelings. I can't talk to somebody or can't say this. I'm feeling very stressed, i.e. at work, and I can't express myself. Again, similarly, I'm at home as well. I can't express myself, what I'm feeling. I'm getting irritated. And again, that kind of constant exposure of bottle up feelings would lead up to other health issues as well. This is a small diagram which we, thank you to Salish Bhai, he's come up with, is how breathing would increase and become rapid, heart rate would elevate, and this is the constant exposure to stress, blood pressure rising, and these are things which we will notice later on because our body, what we say is body keeps the score. So this is after being exposed prolonged for a prolonged time of to stress factors. The myth which Salish has added to it is that stress only affects emotion, which is a myth. Actually, the fact is that stress impacts everything, your sleep, your immunity, and health altogether. So as from an Asian community, we have financial pressures, different pressures which we experience every day is balancing income, making sure we have enough money coming in, livelihood. We're caring for elderly parents, which is one of the things, or looking after our children. So we are that sandwich generation, which we call ourselves. We also have this element of migration stress because we've uprooted ourselves from where we are born and brought up, or our forefathers have, and adapting to new systems, preserving and making sure we have a culture, holding on to our culture, our identity, who we are. So which is one of the biggest pressures every day we've experienced. Loneliness as well, again, as I've seen in our community, that children have moved on, which means parents are living on their own. And it's not that they are selfish, but at the same time, it is also making sure that we are, looking after, our needs, but at the same time, having a family resulted into our elderly parents being alone. I'm in this country. My in-laws live in India as well, so they are alone out there. So that loneliness also is a living experience everywhere, just not UK, but other places as well. So family dynamics and emotional pattern. So these were the previous slide was more of pressures and stresses in the environment. This is more within the family as well. So Asian family, which we all know, have high expectation and constant comparison. I'm a mother, and believe me, I have to stop comparing my child. And it's not that I do it intentionally, it's a very unconscious process. So it's not that we want to hurt or have that high expectation, but it's just something which we do. And I, as a parent, have to hold myself and say, no, he's an individual. My son is an individual, and I have to make sure that he is treated like one. So pressure to succeed. How many of us have said to a child that, oh, you don't have to become a doctor, engineer, or any of those famous people. Do whatever you want, be an artist. So that kind of is very important. And that's one of the pressures which Asian people face. Avoiding conflict in order to keep the harmony, to keep the peace. Um, I think so. Asian culture, we inherit the genes to make sure that avoid conflict. One of the things which I hear very often is that let it be, or reva de in Gujarati, which we say is that it's okay, just keep quiet. It's okay. We don't have to address. If the conflict is not talked about, if people are suppressing their emotions, they feel that they are bottling up that emotion. Every conflict leads to negative elements. It's not the truth. Conflict will help to resolve things. That's the perception we need to have as Asian community. And I've seen many young people not being able to express emotional needs because that's not just like we have Asian food on a menu while cooking and teaching. One of the things I would encourage is also expressing emotions like, oh, I don't like it. One of the things which I deal with Asians is also like when a girl cries, seen many families saying that, oh, don't cry. Sorry, don't. If the girl is showing aggression, he said, don't show that much aggression. It's not good. That's it. Just say if you go to your in-laws, they will not accept it. Whereas if a boy is crying, it's like don't cry like a girl, uh, because aggression is accepted. Whereas for girls, aggression is not accepted. Crying behavior is not accepted in boys, whereas crying behavior is expected in girls. And it's not that I'm blaming our community, it's just that we do it very unconsciously, and it's just making sure that we are aware of these things. So just a quick slide to understand that the factors that impact our mental health is, early childhood experiencing, genetics. As I said, we are Asian families and we have these drivers to work hard, to be perfect, and to, be doing things without asking questions. We've got physical illnesses, social system discrimination and stigma, which still exist in the system. We've got trauma, lack of sleep, exposure to various things, exposure to environmental toxin, again, food-wise as well, neurological condition. You would have heard a lot on the news that we have high increase in people getting assessed for um, ADHD and autism. Again, the neurodivergent community is increasing, identity crisis. So these are all these things which would basically affect our mental health, our everyday mental health. So as we talk about mental health, what mental health is, I also wanted to just point out that the earlier we identify these, the better it is. So if you see any disruption in your sleep pattern or appetite, trouble falling to sleep, waking up early, feeling a bit anxious, either we indulge in eating or we give up food, that is one of the signs which I would be very concerned about and seek help. Um, and again, social withdrawal, don't want to money. I often hear people saying, "Oh, I don't feel like socializing. I don't feel like speaking to people." It could be like your own mother, your child, or anybody. That withdrawal is also something which we need to be very mindful of. Is it that it's what I say is mental health? If I see these symptoms or these changes for more than 4 to 6 weeks, I would be concerned about it. Physical symptoms, which is basically like having headaches. Sometimes we don't understand our body so well, but if these symptoms come up, like, sleeping, we just dismiss it. Or probably I'm changing, or probably it's too hot, I am okay with it. But if you have persistent physical elements as well, like headaches, stomach, fatigue, body feeling tension, not able to relax, that could be also a sign that you might be going towards mental health issues.
So,
So
Sergio, I just had a quick question about this. So sometimes people get a bit confused between the difference between mental health and sometimes mental distress or mental illness. So is what you're explaining here that with mental illness, everyone has mental health. We have a mixture of emotions throughout the day, but
yeah,
actually, what mental distress and mental illness is when this starts to affect our daily life and our functions. So things like sleeping, eating, socializing. Is
yes,
that basically the core of what you're trying to explain here?
yes. And as I said, I would see these symptoms for if they continue for more than 4 to 6 weeks, is when I would say, okay, this is not because of the environment. Like, for example, it's hot weather, I can't go to bed, it's too hot or whatever. It's more to do, like we would drink more water in summers, we would drink less water in winters. So that's because of that, we would have some issues like, digestion problem. But if that carries on for more than 4 to 6 weeks, I would categorize that as mental distress and probably a sign for you to go and, seek help.
So this is useful not only for the person themselves, but also for family members and friends to be aware if someone's struggling, for example, or not being themselves for perhaps a week, but then that starts to extend to about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, then it's
Yes,
probably a time to probably have quite a very open and honest conversation with them to try and
yes,
seek some support and help.
yes. I'll give you an example as well in this. So, for example, my boys are teenagers, 15. Mood swings is a part and parcel of them growing up. If I see that mood swing or probably their reaction to um, a situation very stressful for more than 4 weeks, I would challenge that and I would inquire what's happening out there. Do you want to discuss? And I'll give you a classic example. My younger one had about 2 months ago, had a stressful reaction. He was very stressful and nearly got so stressed that he had an anxiety attack. And we addressed that because that was going on for 4 weeks. Any situation he would panic and he would be, oh no, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. And it's like, okay, let's talk about it. So I was able to not take it to a distress level, but was able to pick it up within 4 weeks, saying that no, this has been going on for 4 weeks. I've been observing it. Just be mindful and let's talk about it. How do you want to deal with it? and we had a honest conversation, and we were able to work through it. As I said, every human being will go through mental health issues, not like to a chronic stage, but just irregular, feeling low, feeling high, feeling anxious. That's quite normal. If it persists for more than 4 weeks, I would be worried.
And also, you mentioned the word stress or stressors. Sometimes people get a bit confused because when they think of stress, they might think of exams, they might think of work, but actually, stress can include things like pregnancy, can include having an operation, starting something new in their life. So all these things come under that term stress or stressors. So, where
Yes.
like you mentioned, when you've got lots of them sometimes happening all at the same time, then that could potentially be a trigger or for poor mental health potentially.
Sure. The case study which was very generic was very similar to it. I.e., she had bodily changes, i.e., 40, so perimenopause was kicking in. She also found that, things which she was able to do, that expectation that was more, that she was able to do everything. Now she's not able to because she slowed down. There could be work pressure, which is also saying that, oh, I've got work pressure. At the same time, there's family celebration or Diwali or something, which also adds up. And again, you are able to do that once upon a time, but you're not able to do it today because there are 10 other factors also impacting at the same time. So again, what I always say is it situational? Is it situational? Like, is it just temporary? It is coming because my son is getting married or my daughter is getting married and then things are fine. Great. We know it's situation. It comes in and it goes. That's fine. You have to manage it. If I say if the situation is over, i.e. the wedding has finished, it's been 2 weeks, and still I'm experiencing these things. I am feeling that I am not falling asleep. I am anxious. I am also didn't want to see too many people. I've got a constant headache, or I'm always tired. Then I would be thinking, okay, let's think, why is this happening? Let's seek help. Yeah. So coming to where can we get help? NHS has amazing talking therapy, which is free and confidential. And it is just reaching out to your GP. That would be my first contact. Reaching out to the GP and saying that I've been experiencing this for the last 4 weeks. I think so there's something and I need help. Simple as that. And they will refer you to talking therapy. And I can tell you that NHS is incorporating different language speaking as well. So therapists who speak different languages, and you have to just let them know I'm comfortable with somebody speaking my language or from my community, or you don't want somebody to from your community just because you might be feeling that I don't feel safe, the stigma attached. You can ask, and that's what it is. You can ask for what you need. Just understanding that I'm comfortable, I'm not comfortable. And again, one of the things which I want to stress out here is that it's not that you are stuck with the therapist or stuck with that service. If it's not working for you, you say you've gone to a therapist and after 2 weeks you feel that she's no good or it's not helping her, helping the person, you can always go back to your GP and say, this didn't work for me. And I have another person who probably speaks our language and that can be incorporated as well. So don't think that the phrase which is beggars aren't choosers. You can choose what you want or how you want to be helped as well. So that's one thing which a GP needs to incorporate very much. There are crisis helplines and community groups which would be able to help you, immediate help in connecting. And I specifically talk about this in terms of isolation. You suddenly find yourself being at home and not wanting to connect, but at the same time you are feeling so. Parents or children as well nowadays experience this. So please reach out to these crisis helpline, and there are loads. And for some of them, thanks to Salish, I have mentioned all these things. Happy to share these slides, and if there's anybody who needs even further information, I'm happy to give as well. Just via you guys, you can reach out to me. And
Sergio, we're
more.
just some people having just a few just sometimes not able to hear you. If you're able to, I know you can't do anything about the microphone yourself. If you're just able to just talk a bit
Be
louder, if
loud.
that's okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for that, because I think I'm able to speak very loudly. But yeah, thanks for that feedback. And one of the things which I also maintain, talk to clients is that it's not just about getting external help, it's also getting help from within, which is the family. It's good to go to therapy, great, you've got help, eight session, 10 session, whatever has been offered to you. But the main thing is that you need to have your resources, which is i.e. the family, your friends and family. I say family support, but it's also friends and family. So how they can help you is by listening with care. So if somebody is going through and you notice that there's something going wrong, Shivam just mentioned before the session that it's not about, oh, how are you feeling? It's also about like, oh, you're experiencing this. Is it better? Do you need any help? What can I do to help you, rather than fixing it? Oh, let's go to the doctor, get you a medicine, and you'll be fine. It's more about making it normal. Like, let's talk about it. You know, what's happening? And do you want to talk? Or do you want to go for a walk? Or you just don't want to talk? Let's just stay together and just, watch TV or do something together. It's just making sure that you are at their pace, doing things with them, and creating that space for feelings to be shared. Um, you will always notice with young people that they don't want to talk. If you go directly to them, like, "Oh, how was your day?" They're like, it was okay. One syllable is what, like, "Oh, I heard that somebody was, on the radio, that somebody was bullied. Is that something happening in your school as well?" And then they would be coming up with information. It's just that by asking direct questions to anybody, you would get a yes or no answer. It's more that situational base. If you talk about, create that space that, oh, so and so happened with me when I was young, and I didn't have the space to speak to anybody. Thus, I wanted to make sure that you're okay. Is there anything you want to share with me? Or young people, or with grandparents as well. Oh, how was your life? What was it like? Rather than think, are you okay?
So
And
Cedric,
use
I've put a few kind of sentences in the chat. So I think that one of the things that reason why we're trying to say this is because when you mentioned some questions like, oh, like how are you, or things like that, those are, we call them closed questions. So usually the
yes,
answers are either yes or no,
yes or no,
and it's
yes.
very easy for if to say to someone, oh, how are you, and they just say like good, or like it's either good or bad. So basically what we're trying to get people to say are trying to be more specific with the questions that we ask. So what did you actually do this morning?
Mhm.
What are you feeling now? Or how did this morning make you feel? Like I know that you've been stressed at work, but how is that making you feel at the moment? So rather than it being kind of a yes or no, good or bad, trying to actually get people to open up a bit more. So these are some really nice sentences to use.
Yes, like one of the common ones which I always ask is like, oh, how was work? I would refrain from asking how was good or bad. I would always ask like, what happened at work? Anything interesting? So the person would open up because you've given them the option to speak and the space to speak. And again, using phrases that, oh, I'm here with you. Tell me, I'm interested. Because what happens is that the other person also wants to feel you heard. You can ask me questions like, oh, but if I don't have that engagement from you, I would disconnect. I don't want to talk to you. Yeah. And you see this with young people. If I'm cooking and asking the same question with my son, he knows I'm halfway interested in my cooking rather than understanding what he's going. And it's like not having a face to face. It's like, oh, how was your day? Just generally making it a general rather than facing and saying, oh, how was your day? In that sense, I heard something went wrong. How was your maths because you were struggling this morning? That would open. And thanks for sharing those questions. And I think so. I pass on to, the information to the slides to Salish because he was going to speak.
So just before I do, I just wanted to introduce Shaila Shankar to everyone. So he's a qualified mental health advisor for Sports England. So we're really lucky to have him today. So over to you, Shailesh.
Hi, good. Thank you, Sergio. So there's just 3 slides and then a summary slide. The purpose of this is to give you everyday tools. This is really with my exercise hat on. The first tool is reset yourself. We often get irritated, we panic, and the best way to reset yourself is just take a seat and take 4 deep inhales. On each inhale, hold, and then exhale and hold again. Uh, so if I was to teach that to you, I would be counting it as in, hold, out, hold. So that's why it's called in, hold, out, hold. It's really good to reset. It clears your mind. The other one that's important is a lot of our work has changed in the last few decades. And try and always take a 5-minute break. And I find a good way of doing that is drink lots of water throughout the day. So you're forced to go for a wee. And a good way to rest, especially in the summer and autumn, is just go and do a round in your garden, get some fresh air, and then come back to your desks. It's very, very easy to just sit indoors in the warm weather. And to be honest, the quality of air indoors is not as good as outside. So take small breaks throughout the day. And those who sit at a desk quite a lot, whether it's doing work on a PC or reading or watching the TV, always get up every 1 or 2 hours and do some gentle stretches. They could be chest openers, they could be neck movements, they could be shoulder rolls, they could be side stretches. Those who came on Monday, you know what the simple exercises are. Okay, next one, please. Okay, this is some daily habits which are really proven to be very helpful. The first one is, and click one more, please. Check in with yourself daily. Pause and notice. So this is all the time. Where are you? What's going on? And just don't judge, but just feel and notice your thoughts. We all have loads and loads of work to do, uh, and you can't finish it all, and you'll get stressed if you try to finish it all. So the next slide will say you create a list of things you need to do, prioritize the things that are important to you, and focus on those. That way you feel you've achieved something. So uh, we are far too tied up with our phones, and there you see a young lady sleeping with her phone by her side. So limit screen time, especially at night. It actually screws up your circadian rhythm and it will actually mess up your sleep. So your sleeping rhythm gets messed up. And my advice is zero technology in bed. No phones, no televisions, no tablets. Positive endings for a day, the things that we should think about doing on a daily basis. The first one is make a note of the things that you've done. They may be the smallest things that you've done in the day to make a difference. So it could be as simple as saying, I used to have 1 biscuit a day with my tea. I don't have any now. That's a small step to you not having diabetes, reducing sugar. Have a ritual, a daily ritual as you end the day. That could be chamomile tea, mint tea, journaling. How was today for you? Or light reading. Uh, I know spiritual reading, Bhagavad Gita, for example, would also be good things to do, even if it's a paragraph. And so you've heard a lot of things today. I'm inviting you to pick one or two, or just pick one, apply it, and see if it makes a difference to your life. The last
And just
one
very
is,
quickly, Shalashankar, with
of
that
course,
gratitude, the gratitude bits that you mentioned. So sometimes some people can even use that with the dialogue and the way that they're talking with their family and in their relationships as well. So they could ask their family member what's one thing you're grateful about, or what are you thankful about today, for example.
That's a really good example. So when we're sitting down to have a meal, ideally family meal, together, we should be thankful that whoever cooked the meal, normally the mum, we should be thankful they took the time to cook it for us. So Shivam, it's a good point. We're often not grateful for the little things that happen in our daily life. We take them for granted. So these are just that one is just things that we need to be positive about. Us as an individual, our family, our community, and our society, they all matter. And the very last slide we have before we go in is mental health. Sejal and Shivam have mentioned this. It's just like physical health, we have mental health as well. Uh, seek help if you need to reach out. It's not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a sign of strength. Healing happens in compassionate communities. So, where we work together, support each other, we're actually healing each other. The very last slide is if you need help from Sejal, these are her email addresses. I'll pop them on chat when we take questions. And finally, over to you, the audience. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for listening. We'd welcome any questions you have, please.
Thank you so much, Shalashanko and Cedric. That's really helpful. And that last slide that you mentioned about seeking help for mental health. I mean, when people break their arm, they don't just sit at home and not tell anyone. They go straight to the doctors. They go straight to A&E. And this is
Agree.
what we're trying to emphasize again and again, that if you're struggling, it's exactly the same. If you're diabetic, if you've got high blood pressure, you always go and see the doctor about that. So it works exactly the same way with mental health.
Yeah.
Agree. And it is, as you said, uh, if you've broken your arm and if you get help immediately, the damage is less. The repair will take less time. Similarly, as I said, anything beyond 4 weeks is problem. And if the sooner you do it, it's better.
I think someone wanted to see those last slides, Shalashanko, if you're just able to go back, or Sergio, if
Yeah.
you're able to
Yeah.
just go back. Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
This one here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That case that you mentioned, Sergio, about that 42-year-old. So it's quite an interesting case because from a kind of mental health professional perspective, or from like a doctor's perspective, it's quite an interesting case because initially, like you mentioned, it could be a number of things related to, for example, perimenopause. It could be stresses in their life. It could be related to their thyroid. It could be something physically, related. But actually, in all those things together can actually have a knock-on effect with mental health, or it could be a different stressor there. So found that case really interesting.
I specifically took female because it's relatable, but I can tell you from my experience that that is the same for males. Yeah, and it is twice as hard for males. I personally would encourage any male as well, and I can see that shift in 20 years. But I can tell you, 20 years ago, it was okay for a female to get help. That's it. It is fine. For a male to go for some help or therapy was a no-no. And it still prevails, but I'm glad that the younger generation are able to say, no, we need help. And when I say younger generation, I don't mean young people. I mean the generation in general is changing and is able to say, no, you need to go and see. And I've seen so many elderly people coming as well. Like, no, so you speak to somebody, they got their parents as well. So as I said, as much as I have taken the case study of a female, it's not just because it's more relatable, but at the same time, that applies to males as well.
Just something I put on the chat as well, which we sometimes think about is we feel the way we think. So sometimes when we start thinking about bad things or we start thinking about things or going on about them again and again and again, that can sometimes affect the way that we feel. Is that something that's sometimes related with, you mentioned about CBT and cognitive behavioral therapy? So some people haven't heard of that before. Do you mind just explaining a bit more about what that means?
So CBT is basically to do with your thought process. Yeah. And I'm going to give you an example, which is very normal Asian household. It's like you are upset with somebody, i.e., it could be your mother-in-law, it could be your father-in-law, it could be your husband, and you let it go once, and that happens for probably 100 times, i.e., that they are not very respectful of you. And every time you do that, it gets to you, and you're not able to express it. And that takes you into a spiral. What we call is cognitively, you keep thinking about it, keep thinking about it. And thus, you will see that your behavior will also change because the thought process is taking you into a negative spiral, and your behavior that you are, even if you're not saying that you're upset with them, your behavior will be very much aggressive. And in that sense as well. Similarly, if you have a negative thought about yourself, it will take you into a spiral. I've often spoke to people like, when they say that I'm not good enough, and they keep telling themselves, I'm not good enough and good enough. What do you think you will be? You will be not good enough. So I always say to everybody to say that, oh, I'm stupid. If I tell you you're stupid, and I keep telling you, and you start believing that I am stupid because I have told you. And that's what I'm talking about. It's that thought process would lead you into your behavior, and thus it would become a part of you. And we need to address that if there's a thought process, i.e., which is not positive or which is not helpful for you, you need to address that and talk about it and make sure that you don't take that in or write it down somewhere and park it or just speak to somebody about it. So that's one of the strategies which CBT is using when you go to therapy.
That's really useful. And then another thing is that we've got some patients who, um, any age, sometimes younger, sometimes older, that sometimes they can be quite. Sometimes they've come and said that they've been quite aggressive recently, or they've been acting out and not being themselves. And one of the things that I've mentioned to them is that behavior is a form of communication. So sometimes, if, for example, a family member is not behaving themselves, is quite angry, quite irritable, perhaps that's actually a way that they're trying to communicate to you to say that they're upset or something is upsetting them, and that's something that we're trying to get people to understand because
Yeah,
because that can help us to form that relationship a bit better.
I agree. And again, when I going back to my slides as well, is that we as Asian community don't speak up, don't express what we actually are going through. Like how many times I would probably growing up as well, I didn't have the courage to or the ways to go and tell my dad or my mother that, oh, I'm very annoyed with you. I don't like the way you spoke to me. Yeah, we are encouraging that now more. But growing up, that wasn't like you don't speak to your elders like that. That's the knock already. So it's not about speaking to, it's about expressing the true feelings. Does that manifest in a different way than you have tantrums with children? And similarly, if it is an elderly person, or I've seen in many people as well, they will withdraw, they will keep quiet, they shut down. So there are different ways people cope, and it is very important for us to have that space to express and to, be accepted. It's not like, oh, she's going again, or she's having a tantrum again. That labeling is also very much prevalent in our community.
Definitely. That's really, really useful, Cedric. Thank you so much for that.
No worries.
I'm just looking to see if there's any more questions at
Sure.
all. Doesn't look like there are. Um, what we'll do is, I think Pana had a question actually
Yeah.
for Cedric.
Sorry, you're on
You're on
mute.
mute.
Yeah,
There you go.
sorry about that. It First of all, that was brilliant session you've given us. Thank you very much. It was lovely to
My pleasure.
learn more about it. What are the most common stressors you see in London's Asian community today?
I would say it's change. One of the things which is very much coming up in the last 10 years is the balance of work and family life. Um, Again, not blaming anybody, including me, because I'm a parent. I've seen that probably the older generation has struggled and they've made sure that the best life is provided to the young people, the next generation. And I guess probably we've been overprotective. That's when I see the younger generation in today's world is that their resilience is very less. It's like it's easy for them to say, oh, I'm depressed, or I am, but you're not depressed, you're just experiencing something different. You're experiencing sadness, you're experiencing this. And it's that element is coming up a lot, where the resilience is very less from this generation. And I've seen that shift in the last 10 years specifically. Whereas before that generation, it was more like bottling up and everything. Whereas obviously we've encouraged not being bottling up, giving the space. But again, they've gone too far-fetched in terms of resilience as well.
So, in this differentiate between normal and stress, something that needs professional support?
Yes, as I said, yeah, they would need, if it is prolonged one, yes, they would.
They would. Okay. So, what early warning signs do families often miss?
Um, First thing I would say, change in, in the attitude, behavior. You can always, whatever they can see the person, minor changes. Secondly, there would be response to these, where they feel they're not able to express, so they might shut down, or they'll be seeing some behavioral changes in terms of being aggression. Um, Eating is another thing which I would be very, very much mindful of, that what is happening in their eating pattern. Anything beyond 4 weeks, if they're going on diet, I understand they're doing healthy eating or dieting, which is understandable, but unexplainable behaviors or changes would be something I would be very concerned. There's another thing is use of caffeine is something which I'm very mindful of. Is that why is somebody having 10 cups of caffeine instead of what they used to be resorting to one? What's happening? Obviously, again, more than 4 weeks is something that would be very temporary, situational. It wouldn't be. The other thing is that also exercising, if they are regularly able to go out. Again, winter, it's difficult, but if it is that substantial changes in these, I would be very careful about that.
So, it's more like comfort eating. It's just like going for the caffeine as well. Right. Why is therapy still a taboo topic in many Asian households?
Again, we as Asian don't talk, isn't it? The basic
That's right.
underlying thing is
We
the don't
need to
talk.
learn how to talk to them.
Like again, if you have in your household, yeah, if any conflicts have arisen, because of X, Y reason, we would always see we would like to not resolve it, but separate it. It's okay, let it be, it's okay, fine. But by doing that, what we are doing is we're discounting what each of them are actually feeling.
Yeah.
One of the other ways is that we always shout, but it's not shouting, it's like, let's talk about it.
Let's
Yeah,
talk
it just,
about it,
and then
yeah.
come back.
So we actually need to do a start off a gentle conversation, and with the older generations who may miss it and wouldn't understand it, would it?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
They
But
wouldn't.
again, I have seen a massive change in the older generation, I can tell you. As I explained to you, they are more accommodating, if you understand, more accommodating, more learning, or approach for them is to learn, because I would say the first and the second generation who came to this country, they had to adapt. So they had that resilience, but whereas the
We
younger generation,
adapted. We adapted ourselves. True, true.
so that is there.
Yeah, I know that now generation is very difficult. They get temperamental very easily and blow their top, and not realizing when they reply, they don't realize what they're saying. But then, for example, I'm taking my own son. He will come back after an hour. Sorry, mom. It's my mistake. I shouldn't say that.
Again,
But
the culture is instant gratification.
it is, it is. So, what are three simple habits people can adopt daily to reduce the stress?
Like Salishba has presented, one is that literally taking breaks, because we are,
Breaks.
if you are constantly, if for example I see clients, so we see clients and we have not a whole hour session, it's 50 minutes, we
Mm.
have 10 minutes break. Just imagine if I see clients, which I do, like 5 to 6 clients every hour, like not having that break. We as therapists have to also have that break. So having the break, getting yourself out of them and resetting ourselves is also this, like Salish Bhai said, that you're getting away from the screen for 5, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Making sure that you incorporate that is very, very, very important, which is one. The second thing is that, again, at the end of the day, you want to go to bed or you want to just feel, what did I do? Like not having a big to-do list, but making sure that you achieve 3 things, top 3 things, which I feel happy about. You made a difference. That gratification, thinking that, okay, I've made a difference. This has helped me, or this is what it is. And the third thing is to talk. I really, really encourage people to please, please, please talk to your loved ones. It could be your partner, it could be your friend, it could be anything. Like females, I have seen that they have less, they manage mental health better than males because females speak, whereas males don't speak. They
True,
both allow.
true. I think Sailesh Bhai did say something earlier. How do we support someone experiencing anxiety without overwhelming them?
I'd like to give you an example. My son did experience his first anxiety attack. So I sat with him and I said, okay, what you're experiencing is anxiety. Yeah. Now you have 2 choices. We can avoid it by saying, okay, I don't want to talk about it, just shut down. Or we can address how we can get this over it. For example, what kind of support you need in order to feel safe, because anxiety is an element where you would feel anxious because you don't feel safe. So, how can mommy make it safe for you? Is there anything I can help you with in order to feel okay? And one step at a time. I'm not going to tell you you have an exit route. With anxiety, there's also this thought process that I don't have an exit.
Mm.
I have to do it. You don't have to do it. You want to do it. Then only will we do. It's not a pressure on you. You want to do it, it's good. So it's your choice. You have a choice. You're doing it willingly. It's not forced on you. That thought process will help you. So one of the basic things which I teach my client is that ask yourself, do I have to do it or do I want to do it?
Mm.
It will change it will change it. Do I want to get this job?
Yeah.
No.
You have, we have to question ourselves. Yeah, very true. So, what are the most common relationship issues you see among couples from Asian backgrounds?
So, as I said, that I have seen less and less resilience in people. And I'm not saying that you have to take abuse in a relationship. It's just that it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
There's no like, let's work together. Is there a common way we can find? It's not either my way or the highway, which is what I'm experiencing in relationship. And again, it's like, the other thing is, which I mentioned to you, is that when I say about relationship, it's like you don't lose you to be we. Yeah. So you do have this element that I am, and I'll encourage every couple to have that sense of self, which is that I am something and the other is seeing that they both are equal rather than one up, one down.
Mm.
Because if that power dynamic is there, the person who's on the upper end will always feel that they can get away with murder because I earn money or I earn this, that. Equal is very important in relationship as well. And again, just meeting midway, as I said, it's not my way or the highway, is very important for youngsters or people in relationship to understand that where they are meeting, is there a common way?
And a lot of the time it's because someone in that relationship doesn't feel like they're being heard, or feel like they can speak up and actually say what they actually feel. And that's when a lot of the conflict arises. So if both parties can be open and honest and talk and ask those questions that we've been talking about today in quite extensive detail, then sometimes that can be the first step and can prevent, conflict is normal. Conflict is a very natural, normal part of relationships. If anything, that's the building blocks of relationships, because the more conflicts you have, the stronger the relationship is. But when people feel like they can't talk or open up, that's when we start to have big issues. And that's where relationships can break down, unfortunately.
Yeah, they term it now communication.
Mm.
We have
Yeah.
some communication issues.
Yeah.
Totally agree. It's not to do with communication. It's making sure that you meet each other's needs or understand each other's needs.
And we have a open door policy here at GAA London as well. If people want to talk to us about anything, if they can speak to the committee, I'm more than happy to speak to people as well. And I think that should be the same with families as well. I think all families should start to have this kind of open door policy where if there's something that, you should be able to knock on someone's door and just say, look, can we have a chat? Can we talk about something? And if you don't feel comfortable, then we're always here as well. But thank you so much, Sergio. I really, really appreciate your yeah, it's really, really interesting the work that you do and for how long you've been doing it as well, and all the people that you've probably seen and helped. So thank you so much for your support in the community. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and I would come anytime. Thanks to Salish Bhai as well.
And thank you so much, Shirley Uncle, for being here and for the support and for being gym buddies with Sejo. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been here today. So, thank you so much. If there's any final questions, just drop it in the chat. But I think that is everything. Thank you, Sejo. Thank you, Pana. Thank you, Shailesh Uncle. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. And I think that will be our last session of the year, actually. We might. I think Pana or will make a post maybe in the next few days to see if there's one final session. But if not, everyone have a brilliant Christmas. Pana, was there anything else that you wanted to mention?
Yes, I still got one more question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sure.
No worries.
Many people think therapy means something is wrong with me. How would you reframe that belief?
I would only say that therapy is actually your space to be you, not to be there because there's a problem with you. It's more of just to go and speak to another friend who will be not judging you at all.
So you would actually refer her to speak to a friend than a therapist?
I wouldn't go to a friend because friends would be biased and judgmental, and that's the reason they are. It's a space where you can speak to somebody who will be very, very non-judgmental, not, putting any taboos or whatever. They will take you the way you are. The way I tell my clients is, if you say this glass is half empty, I will see it the way you see it, not tell you that it is half full.
Yeah.
I'm not changing anything. I'm seeing exactly the way you are portraying it. You tell me that this color is pink, I will see it as pink. And that's the difference in therapy, And it's no, as I said, you're not mad or you're not different. You're just going through a situational issue. You're finding a solution. That's it.
So, what small actions can each of us take to support better mental well-being around us?
I would say that to start with, as I said, in our community, it's more to talk. We like if you go and speak to your friend today and it's like, they will speak like, oh, today you'll go and speak, oh, I've been experiencing some stressed and I'm being this, rather than jumping to a helping mode, like let me solve you or fix you. It's just give them the space and let them out, or, let them tell what is actually experienced. Just if you notice that, you know, if I come and tell you, oh, I'm feeling sad because I broke my leg yesterday, in a group of 5 people, there will be suddenly one person saying, "Oh, so and so also broke their leg and had to go to the doctors." You're not able to express yourself or tell your story. You're not everybody. You are different, and that's what I would say is just letting that space or giving that space to friends and family to express themselves and express their individuality. That's what I would just have. 5 minutes, nothing more than that. You don't have to give them half an hour, 45 minutes, 5 minutes. That's it. Just listen. Good listening.
We just don't want to bore them. So, yes, 5 minutes is enough.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sejal, for a truly insightful and heartfelt session. Your clarity and your experience and your gentle way of explaining the mental health has given all of us something meaningful to reflect on. So we really appreciate your time and Sailesh Bhai's time and the care you bring into this work. To everyone who joined us today, thank you. Mental health is not always easy to talk about, especially in Indian Asian communities. But your presence here shows courage, openness, and a willingness to learn and support one another. Today reminds us that stress affects all of us, and recognizing it is the first step. Seeking help is not a weakness, it's a strength we need. Small daily habits can protect our emotional well being. Compassion, understanding, and honest conversations build healthier families and a healthier community. So, if something from today's session touched you, please take a moment to check it with yourselves and maybe even check in on someone who care about. So before we end, a few final notes. This session, as Shivam did say, will be recorded and resources will be shared if available. And if you need support or want to learn more from GAAL, is always here for community well-being. And please follow our updates for future wellness and learning sessions. So once again, thank you Sejal and Sailesh Bhai and Shivam, and thank you to everyone for making this session meaningful. Wishing you all a peaceful and healthy evening. Take care and stay well and stay connected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Panna.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Great,
you.
interesting.
Thank you all. Doris, did you wanted to say something? You raised your hand. No. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So, shall we say good night, Shubhratri to everybody, and we shall catch up next week. If there is, I think there is one more to go. So, we shall catch up next week, and then the following week is Christmas. So, wishing you all the very best. If you don't join us next week, Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sejal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Bye.